Hello, readers, and welcome back. We are continuing our very important discussion about what racism is and what we can do as kids to combat it and to make sure that this world is a more free and more just place. So yesterday we talked about two types of racism. We talked about personal racism, which is the belief that we have in ourselves that people of color are less than just because of the color of their skin. And I know that that may sound like just a ridiculous concept, and you may be thinking to yourself, how could anyone possibly believe something so ridiculous? But believe it or not, people have those kinds of beliefs in their families, in their communities, and even inside their own brains and their own hearts. And some of those beliefs exist without us even knowing. Those of us who believe that we are very good people and that we have this idea that all people are equal, even we can have some of those ideas that we're not even aware of having. Remember, I talked about how racism is kind of like a spectrum, that we all fall somewhere along. And the biggest thing we can do to combat racism is to look inside ourselves and to try and understand what beliefs we may be holding on to. So to that end, I want to talk about representation. One of the ways that we get programmed to think differently about people with different colored skin is that we're not seeing a lot of representation of people of color in books, in movies, on television. So we have to change that, right? And there are a lot of authors who are working to do that. And we have read one of them, Ezra Jack Keats, and we have seen this character before, Peter. And Peter has brown skin, doesn't he? So it's important to see people of color in main character roles, both in books and on television and in movies. It's important to see positive representation of all people. Women, queer folks, people with disabilities, people of color. We want to see all people represented in our books because all people exist in the world. There are some books out there that deal really specifically with what is racism, right? And those are important books. But just as important as those books are books about everyday life and everyday people, everyday characters who just happen to have black or brown skin. So today we're going to read about one of my favorite characters, Peter, and we're going to learn about him sort of teaching himself how to whistle. And this book is by Ezra Jack Keats, as I said, and it's called Whistle for Willie. Oh, how Peter wished he could whistle. There he is, looking rather glum. He saw a boy playing with his dog. Whenever the boy whistled, the dog ran straight to him. Peter tried and tried to whistle, but he couldn't. So instead, he began to turn himself around and around and around, faster and faster and faster. What's going to happen to Peter, you guys? He's going around and around and around very fast. What happens when you do that? When he stopped, everything turned down and up and up and down. Is he dizzy? I think he's feeling dizzy. Look at him. He's kind of looking like he might fall over. He's so dizzy. Peter saw his dog Willie coming. Quick as a wink, he hid in an empty carton lying on the sidewalk. Wouldn't it be funny if I whistled? Peter thought. Willie would stop and look all around to see who it was. Peter tried again to whistle, but still he couldn't. So Willie just walked on. Peter got out of the carton and started home. On the way home, he took some colored chalks out of his pocket and drew a long, long line. That's around two girls playing jump rope. Right up to his door. He stood there and tried to whistle again. He blew till his cheeks were red. He blew and blew till his cheeks were tired, but nothing happened. Poor Peter, he's trying so hard. It's really hard to learn new things, isn't it? When you're trying to develop a new skill, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of perseverance. He went into his house and put on his father's old hat to make himself feel more grown up. He looked into the mirror to practice whistling. Still nothing. When his mother saw what he was doing, Peter pretended that he was his father. He said, "I've come home early today, dear. Is Peter home?" His mother answered, "Why, no. He's outside with Willie." "Well, I'll go and look out there for him," Peter said. Have you ever played dress up? Have you ever pretended to be a parent or a grandparent or a superhero? I know my daughter loves playing dress up, just like Peter. First, he walked along a crack in the sidewalk. Then he tried to run away from his shadow. He jumped off his shadow, but when he landed, they were together again. He came to the corner where the carton was, and who should he see but Willie, his dog. What do you think he's going to try to do, readers? What do you think he's going to try to do? Peter scrambled under the carton. He blew and blew and blew. Suddenly out came a real whistle. Willie stopped and looked around to see who it was. Willie's like, "Someone's whistling at me." "It's me!" Peter shouted and stood up. Willie raced straight to him. Peter ran home to show his father and mother what he could do. They loved Peter's whistling. So did Willie. Peter's mother asked him and Willie to go and run an errand at the grocery store. He whistled all the way there, and he whistled all the way home. Wow, that is a great story of perseverance and practice. Because like I said, when you're trying to learn a new skill, you have to work hard at it. So this is a great book. This is just a wonderful story about a character who has a problem, just like all of our books, and then who works hard to resolve that problem. It's got some lovely characters and some beautiful pictures. And like I said, part of combating racism is just about representation. So find books that feature people of color. Find books that feature women and queer folks and people with disabilities. Find books that really represent the diversity of the world that we live in. Okay, my friends? And if your library doesn't have them, then you can request them. You can go to your librarian and say, "Hey, I think we need more books." And you can tell them exactly the kind of books that you're looking for. We need more diverse books. It's okay to ask that. And you can ask that of your teachers too. You can ask that of your families. Okay, my friends, I look forward to another day talking about this important topic. I will see you tomorrow.